Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name's alexarayeco and welcome to another video. You guys already know by the title of this video what we are doing today. I'm so excited. This has been such a highly requested video on my channel for so long. I didn't want to rush it. I wanted to make sure I read enough books to be able to really do this video. For today's video, we are going to be tier ranking Colleen Hoover books. I am so excited. Colleen Hoover is one of my favorite authors. Her books are just... they're everything, honestly. I'm a huge fan. I've seen these videos circulate YouTube for so long now, and I've always wanted to do one of my own, and I'm so excited because we are finally doing it today. I'm really excited, guys. For starters, I'll show you all the Colleen Hoover books I own. Quite the collection. I am very proud, and today we are going to be going through tier ranking them, talking about them. I'm just so freaking excited for this. I've been waiting so long to do this video, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Here is the tier list we are going to be using today to rank Colleen Hoover books. I'm super excited. This is just a basic tier list that I've seen other people use to rank books, especially Colleen Hoover books, so I feel like it was just super easy and fitting to use this one myself. The top tier is God tier books, the best of the best coho books. The second tier is so good, so these are reads that I enjoyed, but there might be a few minor things I wish I could change, and they're just not yet God tier. Next up, we have the liked it tier. This is like a middle ground. I liked it, but it wasn't the best. It also wasn't the worst. Then we have not my fave. This is where I'm gonna put all the books that I just really didn't like. I wouldn't reread. I would change almost everything about them. And then lastly, we have the haven't read yet tier, which is for the few books that I haven't yet read, but I have read a majority of her books. So I'm really excited because I feel like we can really just dive in. We are gonna jump right into this, and I'm gonna start with the first one, which is Ugly Love. This is probably controversial because I see a lot of mixed feelings about Ugly Love, but for me personally, Ugly Love was a God tier book. It was one of the first books I read by Colleen Hoover that I absolutely freaking loved. It was a 5-star read for me. I loved Tate and Miles' story. I personally really enjoyed that story. It's a book that I would absolutely go back in and reread. It's a book I'd like to annotate, and it's honestly a book that I wouldn't change a thing about. I feel like we're starting off pretty good here, guys. Next up, we have November 9th. This tells the story of Fallon and Ben. Basically, they meet every year on November 9th for a total of 6 years, and Ben is writing a book about them meeting every year. We basically watch them fall in love, but there's like a huge plot twist in it that is just, it's so messed up. I don't know, this one's a hard one. I think I'm gonna put November 9th in so good. I really loved it and I enjoyed it. And I believe November 9th and Ugly Love are actually in the same universe. So we see Tate and Miles show up in Ugly Love, which I thought was super freaking cool. I liked that aspect of it. But with that being said, November 9th is still like a 5-star read for me, and it's one of my favorite coho books. I just personally find it hard to believe that Fallon could be with Ben after finding out the truth. It's not God tier, you know what I mean? I don't know if I would go back and reread it. Next up, we have Confess. I feel like this book is a book that people don't really like, and I hear people say that it's boring and it's kind of like insta-lovey. I personally loved this book so much. Confess is definitely a God tier book for me, and the whole aspect of art in the book is absolutely beautiful. There's even artwork in this book that they show you, and it was so beautiful. It tells the story of Auburn and Owen. Their story is probably one of my favorites. I think the plot twist in it is absolutely insane but beautiful at the same time. I love the way that Auburn and Owen are connected to each other. I just remember feeling so happy reading the ending and reading the truth about everything. So Confess is definitely a God tier book for me. It's a book I absolutely would reread, annotate, and recommend to anyone who is just getting into Colleen Hoover books. Next up, we have Too Late. I have not read this book. I think that's an older book of hers. Then we have Without Merit, which I did recently pick up. Yeah, I did. Okay, so I recently picked up Without Merit by Colleen Hoover. I have not yet read it. This is a high highly requested book on my channel. So stay tuned for a reading vlog. I'm definitely going to be reading this soon. I hear amazing things about this, so I'm excited to see what it's all about. Next up we have Never Never, another book I have not yet read. I think that's an older book. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then we have Verity. Verity is a book that came out in 2018, I believe. It is a mystery thriller book. This is one that was blowing up on BookTok for so long. I decided to give it a try, and it was also like the first mystery thriller book I ever read. Guys, this book is really spooky. It definitely spooked me out. I could see this being turned into a film. It is very twisted. This tells the story of Lo and Ashley, Jeremy Crawford, and Verity Crawford. I enjoyed this book. It was a little bit out of my comfort zone, but there are a few things I would change in it. I'm gonna say I liked it because it's a middle ground for me. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I didn't like the romance aspect in Verity. It was a bit disturbing. I just didn't like the whole Jeremy and Lowen thing going on. Well, Verity was literally in the same house. I thought it was really twisted. So Verity is definitely a middle ground tier for me. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it, especially for thriller mystery lovers, but it's definitely not my favorite coho book. Next up, we have Regretting You. This book I read recently, and going into it, I was nervous. I hear really mixed reviews about it. I personally enjoyed this read a lot. I would put this in the liked it tier. This is definitely a middle ground coho read for me. If you're looking to get into coho and you don't want to read like her spicy books, I think this is a good middle ground. This is definitely like a YA romance, I believe, and it was really cute. There's a mother-daughter perspective, which I really enjoyed, and you get two different romances, which is really cool. There were a few things I would probably change in this story, and I do think some things were a bit rushed and twisted. There's pieces of it that I definitely think are left out that I feel like as a reader of this, I would just want clarity on, and we just never got that. Other than that, this was still a really good read. It's a read I would recommend. I did enjoy it, and again, if you don't like spicy reads, I feel like this is like a really good starter coho book for you. Next up, we have Heartbones. I also just recently read this. This is such a cool summer read. If you're looking for a summery beach read, Heartbones is the perfect book for you. It takes place during the summertime at a beach house, and reading this, I literally felt like I was laying on the beach, and it was so cool. So this book tells the story of Bae and Samson. Bae comes from nothing, Samson comes from everything. It's a cute summer romance. I thought it was really interesting. A lot of people love this book. This was a huge rec on my channel. I personally, guys, this is a no judging zone, but I would definitely say not my fave. I feel like I'm like the first person to say I didn't enjoy Heartbones because I feel like everyone loves this book. It was not my favorite book at all. I was really disappointed with the plot twist. I didn't like the plot twist at all, and I also feel like the ending of it was just super rushed. Considering how big the plot twist was, I feel like the ending was just super rushed, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the plot twist. I thought the build-up was really cool, and I liked the storyline until we hit the plot twist. Then I'm like, not my fave, you know? Next up, we have Layla. I have not read this book yet. I did actually start it, and I made it 34 pages in, and then I quickly stopped because I realized I would actually like to save this book for later in the year. I'm planning on doing like a spooky readathon vlog closer to Halloween in October, so I thought this would be a great read for then, and I actually stopped reading it. Layla is another mystery thriller romance by Colleen Hoover. I don't see too much on this book. If I do see stuff, people just talk about how weird it is. I'm excited to see what happens when I finally do pick it up and read it. Next up, we have Reminders of Him. This book, I feel like a lot of people don't really like this book. I loved it. This was one of my favorite coho books. This tells the story of Kenna and Ledger. Kenna is fighting to be in her daughter's life. She basically comes across Ledger, who is also a part of her daughter's life. Can't really explain how he is a part of her life and how he is connected to Kenna without spoiling part of the story, but basically Kenna and Ledger form this bond, and it's just a whirlwind of emotions this entire book. I would put it in the so good tier next to November 9th. The way I feel about November 9th is the same way I feel about Reminders of Him, so I feel like they both belong in the So Good tier. These next two books are newer ones by Colleen Hoover, I believe. I haven't yet read them. I believe those are like the anthology reads. Then we have It Ends With Us. This was the first book I ever read by Colleen Hoover back in February, and it started my obsession with coho books. This tells the story of Lily, Ryle, and Atlas. It is quite the roller coaster of emotions. I had never read a book like this before this book, and I think that's why it kind of started my obsession with Colleen Hoover, because her plot twists just were the craziest ones I've ever read. It Ends With Us was really good, really devastating, and very, very sad. I think I wound up giving it like a 4 out of 5 star rating, but looking back at it now, it did start my Colleen Hoover obsession, and I am very excited for the new one to come out. I feel like it is only fitting to put it in God tier because it is such a popular book. Everyone loves this book. This is what gets so many people on the coho train, so I feel like it belongs in the God tier. It Starts With Us has not come out yet. It comes out this October. I'm placing it in the God tier because I love Atlas. I'm really excited to read about his story with Lily. We haven't read that book yet, but I already know it's going to be God tier. Next up, we have Hopeless. This is a book I had never seen anything about, so going into it, I was very nervous. I saw that it was a real person on the cover, and I was like, not my type of vibe. I don't think I'm gonna like this. This tells the story of Skylar and Dean Holder. I was so wrong. I was so very wrong. This story was insane. The plot twist was probably the craziest plot twist I've ever read. It literally shook my core. It is definitely a 5 star read, and it is one of my favorite coho books of all time. I would 100% say this is a God tier book, and I would recommend this to anyone who is looking to get into Colleen Hoover. I read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. I just overall really enjoyed the storyline, and I wouldn't change one thing about this book. Next up, we have Losing Hope and Finding Cinderella. I actually haven't read those two yet. They are the next books in the Hopeless series. Losing Hope is book 2, and it tells the same story but from Dean's point of view, and then Finding Cinderella is a novella about the side characters in Hopeless. Following that, we have All Your Perfects, which is also part of the Hopeless series. I would put All Your Perfects in the So Good tier because I did really enjoy this. This was the second Colleen Hoover book I read, and it kept the obsession going, so I feel like it belongs in the So Good tier. This tells the story of Quinn and Graham, and it goes between then and now. We watch Quinn and Graham come together, and then later on we watch as they go through life and go through the struggles of being together for so long and what marriage can bring. I thought it was a really sweet read, and I think it really shines light onto real life problems that people have in the world. This is part of the Hopeless series. Following All Your Perfects comes Finding Perfect. It's another novella that I have not yet read. Next up, we have Maybe Someday. This book, guys, not my fave. I did not like the trope. I didn't like the characters or the romance. I thought Ridge was a cute character, and I really liked Maggie. I liked Warren and Bridget, but I did not like Sydney. I thought she was boring, and I don't want to say it, but I feel like she's kind of a homewrecker, so not my fave, not my fave. I do like the idea, though, that Colleen Hoover co-wrote this with a musician, and there's actually an album you can listen to the music in this book, and I think that's really cool. I like that concept, but I didn't like anything else about it, so. Following that, we have Maybe Not. I'm gonna put Maybe Not in the liked it tier. It's a middle ground. This is just a novella. It's super short. This tells the story of the side characters in Maybe Someday, Warren and Bridget. Warren is so freaking funny. I really enjoy his character, and I almost wish Maybe Someday just revolved around Warren because he's so funny and I loved him. It is a very spicy read. I could have done without like all the spicy scenes in it, but because I love Warren so much, it has to go in the middle ground tier because I just loved it. Next up, we have Maybe Now. I have not yet read this book, actually, because I didn't like Maybe Someday, and I know this just brings us back to Sydney and Ridge. Last but not least, we have Slammed, Point of Retreat, and This Girl. This is all part of the Slammed series. I have not yet read those books. I think they're older Colleen Hoover books, and I've never seen like a lot on them, so I feel like that's why I've never read them, but they are highly recommended on my channel, so I'm hoping to purchase them soon and try them out. So, okay everyone, that is all for my tier ranking video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun. I know this is kind of a controversial video to do because we all love Colleen Hoover books so much and we all have different opinions on which books are our favorites and which books we don't like, but this was still so much fun. I'm happy I waited until I read a good chunk of her books to do it. Make sure to comment down below your favorite Colleen Hoover books, your least favorite books, which ones you haven't read, and all that fun stuff. I love chit-chatting with you guys in the comments, so make sure to do that. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up because it really helps me out, lets me know that you like these types of videos. You like my reading vlogs, my bookstore vlogs, my tier ranking vlogs. This was super fun to do. So if you guys liked this video, make sure to let me know because tier ranking is actually a lot more fun than I thought it would be. Make sure to subscribe down below if you'd like to see more of me because I post weekly, guys. I post weekly. It's basically free entertainment every single week, so you might as well subscribe. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and I'll see you in my next video.